need coffee. Gatorade. Yee. All that sugar.
Ready for questions?
Franco, when looking around for this, were you looking for a specific guy, like a strong recruiter, a strong second command to you, or was it just you knew, had a pretty good idea that it was going to be Chuck right off? How did the process go?
Dave, it's we all have 3 or 4 guys in our back pocket that if we ever need to hire, that we know that's the guy. And we knew Matt was going to get the Austin Peay job while we were in New York City. And so my mind was already trying to figure that out. At least who are the guys that immediately I would want to go after. But I really was more engaged, and this says a lot about who Matt Figure is. He did not, almost lost a job because he did not want to announce that he was getting a head job and take away any of the credit or the attention from the kids that were earning something for the first time ever in our school's history. You know, so we were more consumed with the Gonzaga game than we were with who the heck I was going to hire. But that was in the back of my mind. And as soon as I separated from that game, I started kind of trying to figure things out. Unfortunately, Tom lost his job at Indiana. And light bulb went off on my head that I think Chuck would be tremendous. And from the first time he and I spoke, he became candidate #1, and that never changed.
Coach, here in the back, yeah, just what excites you about Chuck joining your staff, and what do you think he adds to it now that Figure's gone?
Yeah, it's everyone on our staff has at one time been in the same locker room with me. And the one thing that I did think through is that I wanted somebody that's never been in a locker room with me. Doesn't mean I wanted to take on somebody I knew nothing about, but if that's where it led me to, I would have been okay with that too. I wanted somebody to come in and give me some fresh ideas, challenge my thought process. That you know, Perry Clark does that. I thought we needed someone else. Not that I'm uncomfortable with what I know. On the contrary, I'm extremely comfortable with what I know, but I'm also always trying to grow. And Chuck, if you look at his resume and you see who he's worked for and where at, he has worked for some of the most successful basketball people in the last 20 years. Chuck is, I walked in and heard the end of whatever, you know, you guys had asked him about recruiting in Florida. Well, with him, it's the same way up in the Northeast. And that's an area that's important to us in recruiting. So, you know, from a basketball standpoint and a recruiting standpoint, he's going to bring in some ideas different than the way we have thought in the past, or the way I think in the past, and the guys that are with me fight to support. He's going to create conversations, and that's always a positive thing. By the way, I am not a candidate for the baseball job. I know you guys are all sitting around trying to figure that one out. I am honored and blessed. Isn't that what everyone puts on social media? To be the basketball coach.
Jeff Owen, Spurs and Feathers. Coach, can you talk about Sindarius and where he was drafted, how proud you are of that, and where he went, and also were you surprised that PJ did not get drafted?
I'll answer the second one first. Yes, the closer we got to the draft, the more my conversations with NBA front office people led me to think that PJ was getting drafted. I actually had a conversation with a team. I was in Los Angeles Wednesday. I don't know, probably lunchtime LA time. And when I hung up the phone, I told my wife, who was there with me, sounds like this team's going to take him. So I was disappointed that he was not drafted because I had some conversations that led me to believe that he was getting drafted. And then Sindarius, I was at a dinner table during the draft. Multiple teams had told me that if he was on the board, they were going to take him. And my wife and I were at a dinner table while the draft was going on in Los Angeles. And I got a text around pick number 42, 43, right in there. And I got a text that said, if your guy's on the board, we're taking him. And I showed it to my wife, and that's a real comforting feeling to know that people that run the top basketball organizations in the world think that one of your guys is good enough for them. And that's a credit to Sindarius, credit to Scott Greenawalt, our assistants, Lamont Evans, who recruited him, Bruce Shingler, who spent countless hours with him this past year. It's a credit to his family, his uncle, Country, how hard he fought before he passed away to keep Sindarius out of harm's way with just the challenges that we all face in life, and extremely happy. And I was extremely happy that he was drafted by a team that puts tremendous value on what Sindarius is great at. And because there's some teams that they just want guys that can jump and dunk and do all that other stuff, and that's great, more power to them. But everything's fit. And what Sin is great at, which is helping you win, is something that's very important to Doc Rivers, Lawrence Frank, and the people that are running that organization.
Coach, you kind of preach fit when it comes to players and coaches on your staff and on your team. Just how do you feel like Chuck Martin kind of fits into that, your fit for this program?
It's who we are. Started as a high school coach, not a hot-shot college player that became a hot-shot recruiter. Started as a high school coach. Very humble, very, very appreciative of every day that he's given an opportunity to do what he does. I'm a high energy, let's go kind of guy. I don't do well with people that are laid back and we get there when we get there. I don't deal well with that. Chuck's like that. Chuck can't wait. It's let's go, let's go, let's go. Our players are used to that. If I bring in a guy that just kind of, we're practicing, he's just kind of laid back with their feet up, they're going to freak out. They're just going, wait a second, this is not how we do things. So I think he'll be a great, great fit. I really do. I'm telling you, from the second that my mind said, call Chuck, and I called him. And from the first 5 minutes of our conversation, I said, that's who I'm hiring. And I never deviated from it. And I continued that. You guys kept asking me, and I continued to have conversations because you got to make sure. And I don't care who else I spoke with. I don't care what advice I got from people. I don't care who called me to reference someone else. Every time I hung up the phone, it was right back, Chuck's the guy. And so I'm extremely comfortable there.
Coach, you had a player drafted. Don had 3 players drafted. We just had a bunch of baseball players. It seems like all through the athletic program, athletes are being drafted to play professionally or getting an opportunity to play at the next level. What do you think that says about where the athletic program is as a whole right now?
Yeah, I think that's a result of the cumulative efforts of everyone that touches these kids while they're here. The life, what's the word I'm looking for? The lifestyle structure that's provided for them across the board by academics, by the the folks in the Rice Building, to their respective coaches, the value that's placed in teaching them the right and wrong ways of doing things socially, the accountability academically, and then obviously the assistants who do all the recruiting. I can't speak for the other teams. I know on my staff, every player that comes to us, it's all our assistants. All I do is kind of chime in at the end there. They're the ones that do all the legwork, and that we're recruiting the right people that are talented enough, that have a work ethic, and then they want to succeed as human beings, not just as athletes. And I think that's representative. Your question. That's what it represents. That we've got the right people, identifying the right young people, and then we're surrounding them by just incredible folks that guide them in the right direction.
Coach, kind of following up on that along
Hey,
with
Joe, by the way, you were right next to me at a light today. You didn't even acknowledge me.
which light?
We're on Gervais Street. You're right next to me, and I'm trying, like, waving at you.
I was so hungry, Coach. I just came from another shoot. I was starving.
Jesus,
I was so
Joe.
dialed in on.
You're still pissed at me about that question 3 years ago?
I had $5. You're going to mention that today.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you guys can see my feet under the thing here. I'm part of the Russian conspiracy, too. I bought these in Russia when I was coaching out there.
Oh, my goodness. I can't right now. Coach, again, following up a little bit on your answer there, plus another question as well. In terms of recruiting, when you talk with Chuck, is that something where you kind of have a discussion like, hey, these are kind of the guys I'm looking forward to bring in, and kind of pick his brain too and some of ideas he has to also help continue the culture here? And then the second part, what are some of the summer goals for this program as you guys just continue to build and grow this thing?
Yeah, recruiting's just become very complicated because you got to recruit your players even when they're here for 2 and 3 years. You got to continue to recruit them. But you know what? That's life. I recruit my children at home every day. And the more popular these gadgets get, the more you have to recruit every single day, your own, that is. But then recruiting the unknown, that's getting complicated because you have to speak to so many people now to figure out who's telling you the truth. Because a lot of people are willing to share stuff with you, and in life, the most powerful thing we can attain is not money, is information. And so you're always searching for information. And 99% of the information you get is useless. But you're always trying to find that 1% that really makes sense. I think Chuck, that's when, to answer the previous question, that's where his recruiting mind, I think he's an aggressive recruiter by trade. But working for Norm Roberts, recruiting at St. John's, after St. John's was down in the dumps, going to Memphis, being around Cal, and Cal's innovative ways of recruiting, knowing that his mind's been impacted by those guys, becoming a head coach at a smaller school, and having to recruit with the mentality that you're not walking into a gym wearing a shirt that immediately attracts the attention of 80% of the guys in there. And then lastly, his experience with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana here as of late. I've gotten to know Tom. Tom's just one of the Tom doesn't recruit just whoever's ranked on some piece of paper. Tom recruits who he feels fits how they do things, and that's kind of the way I think. So I think Chuck brings all that to add to what Bruce is doing, what Perry's done, and here's the best part about Chuck: very humble. He's not going to show up trying to tell us how to work. On the contrary, he's going to show up and he's going to understand how we work first. See, the new guy, anytime the new guy walks in the door, whether it's a player or a coach, and he tries to tell people that are in place how to do things, the people that are doing the work are going to kind of put their hand out and say, please, stop. Chuck understands that. So he's coming in and he wants to add value. And as he adds value, then his thoughts are then we're asking him for his thoughts. So then we can implement that into what we already think. That's how you grow. At least that's how my rear end thinks it should be. And then that's how you grow. And he gets that. He didn't show up here trying to tell us, hey, oh, you don't need to recruit that guy. You need to recruit that. No, he's coming here saying, who are we recruiting? What can I do? Frank, what kind of players, now that we're actually in the same locker room, what kind of players do you feel more comfortable with? What kind of people? And it's a matter of having those kind of conversations. And now as we get into this recruiting cycle, everyone in our office has seen his willingness to adapt to us first, and we're going to start trying to pull information out of him to help us grow. You had a second question? I was thinking of my Russian conspiracy there.
Jared Rogers Martin with Sports Talk. You've mentioned fit and how Tom and you approach recruiting. With recruits, is that fit a knowledge base? Is that an attitude or a specific skill set? When you use that word fit, just what is it? One of those three, or something that you're specifically looking for?
I want guys that when it comes here, I'm going to give you a quick answer, okay? And hopefully it helps you understand that. I got here 5 years ago. I'm trying to teach how we play defense. I had guys tell me, you can't do that. Fast forward a year, guys named Dwayne Notice and Darius Thornwell, freshmen, don't know anything about anything. Never once did they ever say we can't do what we were teaching. Fast forward 4 years later, we're in the Final Four. You know, and that's I don't want guys that have opinions as to what can and can't be done. I want guys that are willing to be open to grow, to be challenged, to understand. I want guys that want to fit, again, the word, everything that's important to us. We've set program school records for Team GPA community service hours. Nobody ever wants to pay attention to that. Nobody ever wants to report that, and the people that actually follow don't really care about that stuff. I get it, but I do. So in our locker room, our players care about that stuff. So that means that if we bring a guy in and he does not want to lift in the weight room the way Hassani Gravett, Rakim Felder, Chris Silva, Mike Kotsar lift, that guy's not going to feel real comfortable around our guys. So they have to have a work ethic of not saying, man, I can't do that. Because if he walks in the weight room and our strength coach says, hey, we're doing chins today, I can't do that. He's not going to fit. If he shows up to our practice and when I say you sit on the half-court line and you guard that guy and you don't let him get with the ball to this area of the floor, if he says that's too hard, he's not going to fit. If I tell him, if you don't go to class, I'm not going to practice you, and he doesn't go to class, he's not going to fit. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's a matter of not being perfect now. I make more mistakes than that whole locker room put together, just for the fact that I am responsible for more things every day. So that I make more mistakes than them. But when I make mistakes, our players don't stop listening to me. When they make mistakes, I definitely don't stop listening to them. But what we can't have is anyone saying, you can't do that. Because if I thought you can't do that, I wouldn't have come here 5 years ago. So I can't have players that their mindset is, can't do that.
More questions for Frank?
I got nothing to do other than go talk recruiting. So,
Coach, just it's been 3 months now since you were in the Final Four, and I'm sure you feel like you're the exact same guy you were then. But I'm curious, how does it feel as people react to you now? How has your life changed, if any, in that sense of being more of a national figure, getting more attention, whatever it might be?
You know, Heath, that's kind of where it's crazy. Is the attention has come here, not nationally. I'm fortunate that you work for Bob Huggins, you walk through airports or you walk in basketball gyms, everywhere he goes, they know who he is. So they're like, hey, who's your assistant? So you get to know people. And then I was fortunate that at K-State, we built a program that was pretty much a top 20 program every year I was there. And you make a run to the Elite Eight. So you walk into certain gyms and it's like, oh, you're that coach that's half crazy. So everyone kind of knows. But I love how your team plays. And so nationally, there was an attention there. Locally is where it's really changed for me. Heck, the day I got hired, I left the press conference and I went to a local restaurant. They had no idea who I was. The first day we played a home game against Wisconsin-Milwaukee, I had family and friends in town. One of my dear friends, he gets nervous, so he can't stay in the arena. So he went to the Thirsty Fellow, which is across the street from the CLA, at halftime. He didn't go there to consume Diet Cokes. So he walked in and he said, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. And we're playing across the street. And he says, can you please put the basketball game on TV? They had no idea we were playing a basketball game inside the Thirsty Fellow. And all that's changed, you know, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that 5 years worth of work by our staff, our players, administration, Emily, marketing, you guys, that now people actually are paying attention and that they do care. That's a good thing because I know they cared in football. I know they cared for Don. I know they cared for baseball. Unfortunately, they weren't paying attention to basketball, men's basketball, that is. Well, that's happened now. So it's my life has changed a lot more here in Columbia and in our state than when I'm in St. Louis or New York or wherever. It's changed more here, and I'm a people person. That doesn't bother me. You know, I don't try to live behind some door and keep people away from me. So I'm having the time of my life with it right now.
Although PJ didn't get drafted, how do you feel about the spot he landed in with the Lakers? Is that a good place for him, you think?
I think so. It's got the direction of the club with Magic and Rob Pelinka is fresh. It's brand new. Obviously, he wasn't a guy that they just signed just to sign. I'm telling you, going in, I thought my conversations was he was getting drafted. He ended up agreeing with the Lakers late night, the night of the draft. So that means that he was one of the first free agents that was pursued aggressively. And the Lakers was one of the places where he had great workouts. You know, he was real good there. So I was not surprised he signed with the Lakers. I think I haven't followed what they're doing as closely, but I believe they haven't renewed, picked up the option of a couple of older contracts. And I know they traded the one guard from Louisville, Ohio State. I think they traded him. So there's opportunity there because there's freshness. He's not walking into a camp where there's 5 established guards that they're already in cahoots with the front office or the coach. Everything's fresh, so he's going to have a fair slate, and it's an organization that's in transition. And usually when there's transition, people take on the new blood to create a new way of thinking rather than try to change someone's mind. Changing people's minds and habits is hard. So I think it's a good place for him. I really do. I'm not going to predict he's making a team, not making a team. Heck, there's first-round picks that never play in the NBA. But I think he's in a right place, right fit. Luke Walton wants to play fast. PJ's in the open court. He's real good. so style of play fits. And he's a big guy. I'm just telling you, big guard. There's always what's the kid from Missouri that's on their team? Jordan Clarkson, you know, big guard. People are like, well, I did big guard. Man, you're a big guard. There's a door that's going to stay open for you, and it's up for him to run through it. And like I told him, you know, I've been around 4 guys that I've been able to deal with and touch and build unbelievable relationships with that all went into the draft, and I felt that all 4 were getting drafted, and they all felt that they were getting drafted. Udonis Haslem, Jose Juan Barea, Rodney Magruder, Jacob Pullen, and all 4 went undrafted. 3 of the 4 are established NBA starters. The 4th basically said, I'm not interested in your money. I'm going to go make money overseas, and makes a lot of money playing overseas. So his life is fine. What he's got to do is make sure that whatever door opened up, and obviously it was the Lakers to start, he's got to run through that door. He'll be fine. And my man that played in North Carolina from Orangeburg, Bryce Johnson, all 3 of those guys. So hopefully I just came from L.A. Maybe they can find a place that has some shrimp and grits out there.
Last question to John.
Since we're on the topic of former players, what's the immediate future of Dwayne? What's in the cards?
Yeah, I just spoke with him. He's in Toronto right now. He's got an opportunity. It's not official. It's not done. But I think he's going to have an opportunity playing with them in their summer league team, with the Toronto summer league team, which doesn't guarantee anything as far as the fall. But anytime you add that to your resume, it makes you a more attractive player when you're trying to find a job. And someone's going to pay him money to play. Where and how and when, I don't know. It just goes back to those guys I just spoke about. You know, Rodney Magruder, everyone said, he doesn't pass well enough. He doesn't dribble well enough. He's not quite big enough. And somehow, some way, he started 65 or 7 games for the Miami Heat last year. You know, and Dwayne's cut the same way. Dwayne's cut the same way as Rodney. He's going to keep working and take on whatever opportunities given to him and make it better. And heck, if you think about it, that's how life is. Some guys get $100,000 jobs walking out of, getting out in life. Some guys make 20 grand when they start life. Where are you at 10 years later? Are you the 100 guy making 20, or are you the 20 guy making 100? That's it's all what you do with whatever door opens up.